Wait, go.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so
Hello.
much for joining us tonight for our live talk about our new book, All Good Just a Week Ago, Funny Dating Stories to Keep Your Head in the Game. As we all know, dating is very, very, very interesting. And me and my best friend, Erika and McCall, we've decided to write a book talking about all of the goods and some of the bads and the in-betweens of how to get from point A to point B, being successful in your dating journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. And before we get started, we just want to give a shout out to Barbara's Bookstore and everybody at Barbara's Bookstore who has supported this event. They are an amazing independent bookstore. And they're from Chicago, which is our hometown, even though we don't live there anymore. So we are so grateful that our first bookstore talk is with Barbara's Bookstore, because it's an independent bookstore and this book was published independently. So we are so excited, and make sure that if you don't have the book, you can get your copy 10% off if you go to their website and use the code EVENT. And if you do have a book, get another book with that discount and get one for your friend.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, we're going to get right to it. Hi, ladies. We can see the comments too. So we have Louisa. Hi.
Hi, and Georgette. All right.
And Nidra. Hi, Nidra.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and get started. And so I was thinking we kind of do what we did with our release that we did with our friends and family, and Justin had us introduce each other.
Yes.
We are, we will be moderating together. So you can introduce you and I'll introduce you.
Awesome. So, I mean, where to begin with Erika McCall? Okay, so, when I think of just the epitome of what a best friend, no, let's take it back. Not even a best friend, just a great friend. What does a great friend consist of? You want someone who is honest with you. You want someone who's very supportive. You definitely want someone who is very transparent. Okay, and we talk a lot about, transparency in our book. You want someone who is very open-minded to, just hearing what your ideas are, not really trying to pour their feelings onto you, and just a well-rounded person. So when I think of these qualities of what consists of being a really great friend, Erika supersedes that definition. And I'm sure of other people who she is super close with, friends with, but she's my bestest friend. So no one takes that title. Okay. I only share her really with our little sister, Tiffany. We are like the trees, amigas. But Erika has just, she's just a lovely person. My favorite tagline is like, everybody needs an E. Everybody needs an Erika in their life to really help to maneuver through the tunnel, the journeys that we are on. So she's just, that's my girl.
Well, thank you. And I totally echo those sentiments. Niesha always says everybody needs an E, and I'm like, but everybody needs a Niesha, which is one of the reasons why we had to write this book together, because so many people will say they are your friend until it's time to show up and be a friend. And Niesha has showed up and has shown herself to be not just my friend, but my sister in so many just hard times, amazing times, just so many times in my life. And even as it relates to, this book, and we share our story where, we went through different situations and we were there for each other. She has showed up and showed out, y'all. Like, I can't even tell Niesha everything that, people have done, because she will want to just, drop them. I'm a little more lenient on people. She will be done with them, right? And so that just shows you just the love that she has for me. She's amazing. She's an amazing wife. She's a fashionista. And I'm just so thankful for the sisterhood that we have. And I feel like it's something important for all of us to have. You know, we talk about dating and we have relationships, but there's nothing like your good friends.
Yeah.
And so we will go ahead and get started. So how we're going to do this is we have some questions that have been common reader questions. You all feel free. We will have a Q&A segment. And so we're just going to go ahead and dive right in and talk a little bit about the process of creating the book and then get into some of those stories.
Yes. Ooh, so exciting. So the process that we went about with All Good just a week ago, it really actually started off as just a phone conversation. Okay, this is me and E. You know, we're talking on the phone. We're just laughing, just thinking about all of the different scenarios that we've been in, you know, up to date, you know, as far as just like, you know, when we were back home in Chicago, you know, the different frogs that we had to kiss to get to where we are today, you know, and just what that journey looked like. And we were just like on the phone having a good kiki, you know, we're like, you know, somebody needs to hear these stories. Like, these are some good, like, we have some good stories to share, you know? And we just really felt like rather than us keep them just between us and our small, super petite circle of people that we share these stories with, why not share them with the world so that they can, you know, hear these stories, know that they're not by themselves, and catch a blessing in the midst of reading. Because I truly feel, and I know that that was one of the desires for Erika as well, writing this book. We wanted to make sure that maybe someone could read our stories or read the stories that are in the book to kind of, you know, deter from having those scenarios happen in their life. Like, they can like skip over that hump, you know, and get straight to wherever their victory is at. Because a lot of times we go through really bad scenarios and we want to keep it to ourselves because we're embarrassed. We don't know what that will look like on the outside, but you know, there's so much peace in being able to share your testimony, you know? So yeah.
That's good. And I don't know if it's on everyone's end, but Niesha, I can't see you now. There's like a little robot or something. Okay, there you are. I'm not sure what happened. You're back though. You're back. And so, yes. And so, yeah, part of that process, you know, like we said, there's people who have so many crazy stories, and part of that process came from us putting our stories together and then reaching out and interviewing our friends. And it was such a fun process and tedious at times to get to the finish line. But also one thing that we do want to share is this is something that we wrote when, you know, we had the first lockdown last March, which is crazy because it was almost a year ago. But we thought of this idea of December 2019. So we were about to go into 2020. And so we thought of this idea to write this book, and we didn't know that it would even be out that fast. But we had the pandemic and, you know, everybody was on lockdown, and this really helped us take our mind away from everything we were watching on the news and everything that was going on the outside world. And so it was actually like, I know for me, it was very therapeutic.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, also, like during that time, it was just so scary in the world. Like, everything that you heard was just like, if you step outside, you can get this virus, you know? And I know for me, you know, just being 1,000%, I was one of those people that was like, oh, I have to wear 2 masks to go to the grocery store. I'm just, you know, I was just so stressed. But, you know, being able to come back to my house where I felt safe and be able to talk to my sister and write this book, that was like such a calming experience for me. So like, I totally, you know, agree with the sentiments that Erika shared, that writing this book with her, it really did allow us to take our mind off of the COVID pandemic and everything, you know, basically being turned upside down.
Yeah. And so I know you guys are ready to dive into some stories. So we're going to go ahead and just dive in. And we're going to start with our stories that start out in the beginning of the book. And so if you've read the book already, you may know this story. And we don't want to, give too many spoilers for those who have not read it yet. But it starts out where I'm in the store and Niesha calls me. So this is the story of the smooth operator. So Niesha calls me and she lets me know that her then boyfriend, she caught cheating on her. And throughout this story, she's able to point out the red flags that she ignored in the beginning that were there. But she ignored them because she really, really liked this guy. So this story is called The Smooth Operator, and the guy, his name is Papi Chulo. And so Niesha, talk a little bit about that story.
So how it was all set up was the fact that, me and this fellow, we met at a time when I was already living in New York. I had actually came back home to just visit, just like a little hometown visit. We met at an event. He seemed to be, just a really upstanding person. First impressions are everything, right? And so usually if someone leads with, a good, facade that they have it all together, you're more than likely your natural, inclination is to, move forward with that to see what it does. Mm-hmm. And, we talked, I told him that, I live in New York. I have no plans at all of moving back to Chicago. I was very much, great in New York. And, he was like, oh, that's totally fine. So he asked, if he could take me out. Our first date was at church. That was just like a huge green light for me. I'm like, oh, this, I love the Lord. That is like totally, that is what I need. Okay, he loves the Lord. We're going to church. Erika was actually in Mexico. She was just coming back from a missions trip. And I was like, so excited. I was like, girl, this man took me to church. This is probably it, and she's like, oh my gosh, here she goes again, and so we were really actually having like a healthy long distance relationship for, a little bit of time. And I happened to come back home for one of my good cousins, her bridal shower was happening. And then one of my really, really great close childhood friends, she hit me up, she sent me a text and she was like, Target's here, and I was like, oh my gosh. No, is he really? Oh my gosh. So, needless to say, I left the event. I scurried to the place where she said he was at. And I absolutely was like, oh my gosh, like this is absolutely happening. And I just seen him like literally like 8 hours ago. So I was just so confused. Like, how is this all happening? I see the girl, he's in the bar. I'm like, let me go inside, and I go inside. I'm like, hey, listen, I need you to give me a cocktail. Okay. Cause this is about to get heavy. And, he's like, oh, it's not like that. It's, this is just one of my friends. You just never knew her. Just all of the ramblings that someone who has just got caught will proceed to tell you. And, we stepped outside to where they were at. I asked for him to introduce me to this young lady, went over to her, told her who I was, told her where he was prior to seeing her. And, it was just like one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to move furniture. We're out in public. I'm a lady. I'm not going to cut up, but you won't see me again. And oh my gosh, the red flags that, that he really presented to me. And this is what me and Erika, we talk in great detail about in our book, is that when you do notice a red flag with someone, it doesn't matter what it is. You need to take note of that, because that is just the foundation for some things to come in the future that are not going to really sit well with you, So rather than to make an excuse for these flags, it's like, let's address them and let's just figure out if this person is really for us. And 9 times out of 10 is going to be revealed that this is just not your jam. So, we broke up. I went back to New York and kept it moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that was such a crazy story and a colorful story in the book. And one thing we were able to, when we wrote some of these stories, we identified the patterns that we had. And so, Niesha, what were some of those patterns do you feel like you had that you had to change to lead up to where you're at now?
Definitely not being swayed by someone who says that they have a relationship with the Lord. So that's just one thing, because I was so focused at that time in my life on, being with someone who, was really close knit with the Lord and, things of that nature. And so what it looked like, it appeared to be on the surface, it definitely was not. So just not really jumping the gun when someone says, oh, I love the Lord. Definitely also paying attention to patterns. So for me, a red flag was the fact that he was not employed at the time and could not really give me any confident reason as to why he was unemployed. I got a lot of excuses. I got, I'm trying to do this for my mom, trying to, help out with my dad, and, I'm trying to do all this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's so caring. He's so loving. He's such a family guy. No, I later found out why he wasn't working, but you would have to read the books to find out what that reason was. But, again, I was doing a lot of pouring into that situation and not really receiving anything back, but a lot of, excuses and things like that. So definitely just, making sure that, I wasn't pouring in more than I was receiving, so that was like something that I knew that I was doing, and I was like totally making excuses for it. But also we have to keep in mind too that I was long distance, so I really didn't even have to entertain or interact with this person that much because we were on two, different coasts. So I guess it gave me a little leeway to extend some more grace to the things that I saw was a red flag that I should not have done.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So there you have it for red flags. And then so we move on to my story.
My favorite. So, another thing that we talk about in the book as we get into Erika's story is that, oftentimes we may find ourselves, hanging out with a person and, not really knowing where we're going with this, like it's feeling good. We're doing things that seem like relationship based, but no title has really been put on to what it is that you're doing with this person. And, we speak to how you have to set boundaries. Like you have to be intentional when you're dating so that both parties involved know like what the expectations are that they are seeking to have met, be it if it's like a long-term relationship, if you're dating with the intention of getting married at some point, like these are all things that need to be discussed like very early on. So Erika's story, which is like just one of the best stories in the book. And I'm not just saying this, like I'm not biased because it's her, but this is like it's a really great story. So it's Rookie Ball. Yeah. So, Erika, you want to tell us a little bit about the Rookie Ball?
Yeah. So the story is called Rookie Ball, and it's my lesson about situationships. So before I share a little bit of this story, and this is where, it's funny, we laugh now, but it was crazy. And I'm sure that we all have those moments. And so, I was caught up in a situationship. And for those of you who may not know, a situationship is a relationship where there's no title, there's no responsibility for that person. So you kind of just go with the flow. Normally these happen when, the woman's like, so where do you see this going? And then the guy's like, well, I'm not ready for a relationship. So he's not ready. And you think that he might one day be ready. So you stick around until he, comes, I guess, to the lights, and he's going to be with you. And in most cases, that doesn't happen. And so the story is called Rookie Ball because I was dating a guy that was playing minor league baseball, and he was a rookie. And so I shared this story of, us dating, and then, him not being ready. And then he's dating somebody else at the time. And we're at his house having brunch and enjoying a Sunday brunch. And the other young lady shows up at the door. And it started this whole conversation of, well, is this your girlfriend? And he lied and said, no, this is just my friend. And so since he was lying, I said, well, I'm going to ask her. And she said, well, this is my boyfriend. And because I was like in my 20s at the time, not the woman I am today, and not knowing who I was, then I, got very angry and commenced to throwing all of the things out of his refrigerator that, from the brunch that we made, including the eggs flying on the floor, doing all of these things and being upset about somebody that didn't even want to commit to me. And so really learning a lesson in that, but also learning like, hey, when somebody says that, they are not ready for a relationship and they do otherwise, it's up to you to make the decision to say, you know what, I value myself too much to be in this type of situation. So that's why we say in the beginning of the book, when it comes to dating, sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying, because throughout your dating journey, some people will go through some crazy stories to get to their person. And it just adds a little more color to it, and we learn so much about ourselves. And so in addition to our stories, we had some other just funny dating stories that were shared from men and women. So now we just want to share some of our favorite stories. Niesha, what is your favorite story told by someone in the book?
Wow. Okay, so this is kind of hard too, but I would have to go with eguation. Just the fact that this person, really, really enjoyed this particular meal when it's prepared correctly, but the girl that he was dating, that he was hanging out with at the time, tried her best to make this meal and it was disgusting, and he had to lie and say that, oh, this is not really his thing or whatever. And then later on, they were out and, she's like, he's eating this meal that, he says so much that he hates. And she's like, oh, really? I thought you didn't like this, and it was just like a whole big old thing of, him getting caught up in, just, the shenanigans that happen sometimes when you're dating and not being honest. So that was one of my absolute favorites. That one and the Nair. With the hair.
Where it's called No Lie Relaxer. So there's someone who had a date that was flying in to see her, and she wanted to get all dolled up for the guy, and she was getting ready, like he was flying in the next morning, and she's getting ready, and she's making sure she's shaved and she does her hair, and she's like, well, I'm gonna put a little relaxer on my edges so my edges can be slick when he comes. And she did not realize instead of relaxer, she put she put Nair, and her hair fell out, and she was so embarrassed and had to explain that to her date the next day, like she didn't have any more edges on her head, which is crazy because it just made me think of I don't know if you guys have seen the young lady that used Gorilla Glue in her hair.
We will not.
We won't go there, but it just made me think of that. And so can you imagine, you're like, I'm about to have this young lad come in and, my gentleman caller, he's coming. And then you actually put Nair in your hair. So that was funny, but it's so many hilarious stories in this book. And like we said, they're told from men and women. And some of the stories are funny. Some of the stories are not so funny, but we can laugh at them now. And so that is definitely something that you guys want to participate in. Oh, thank you, Gloria. She said, we are funny. We should co-host a TV show. We would love to do that.
Oh, somebody sign us up. We want to do that. We want to do a TV show. We would like to do a little ad for help, love advice and all that good stuff, yes, let's speak that into existence. Thanks.
Yes. And so one thing that we shared, that this is a great book to have whether you're married or you're single. And so one of the questions, I'm reading off some of the questions here that we've had before. And so one question we had is, how did that play in the development of the book? So Niesha is happily married, and I am happily single and available.
Okay.
And so people often ask us, how did that play a role in the book? So how did you being married play a role in your contribution to this book?
So I honestly feel like because I was just able to kind of think back to the different scenarios that I've, been in on my dating journey, and like what were the things that triggered me to do something different? Because I had literally been dating the same man. It was just he came in a different shape, okay, and a body frame, okay, but it was the exact same man on the inside, okay. The characteristics were pretty similar, the lack of consistency that was consistent. So, like it really wasn't until for me, like that I just made like this really huge, bold move to be celibate until, I met my husband, or until God led me to my husband, that I really was able to see like, oh my gosh, the things that I was doing all of this time is the reason why I've gotten the same results. And we all know the definition of insanity is, you're doing a repeated behavior expecting a different result. So for me, that was like the bulk of my dating life. Like I was doing the same thing. Like I was always, like the very loyal girlfriend. I wasn't a cheater. If I felt like I was dating somebody and I might have, caught wind of another guy that, seemed to kind of take my interest, I'm going to break up with this person that I'm currently with, because I'm not a cheater, and I know that sounds harsh, but for me, it was just like, don't label me as a cheater. Label me as anything else, but don't label me as a cheater, because I just didn't want that stuff to whip back around on me. So I was just like, really just kind of out here, just really trying to do and be the best girlfriend that I could be. But I was going about it like all of the wrong ways, So once I decided to say like, you know what, God, hook me up, be my matchmaker. I am no longer about to keep, doing this myself on my own, because I'm getting the same results. I felt like I had just hit a wall. So I smacked that wall so hard, it really forced me to really just like reevaluate some things. So, for me, it was just really easy in the process of writing a book, because I was able to like just think back to where I was at, like, like just the patterns that I've had in the journey. And then how, as soon as I transpired into wanting to do something different, my whole life changed, and I got, better results.
Yes. And that's something that, Niesha is able to speak to in the book, that really, even while writing this book, helped inspire me, because while we were writing, I was like, there's no way that I can go back to the same habits, because I was still in some of those habits, believe it or not. And so I think, just seeing her journey, because a lot of times in dating, no matter how old you are, sometimes even, as women, we can feel pressured to, allow whatever the man wants, like go with what he wants, because we're like, we want to please this man. Before we move forward, we're about halfway through. And so for anybody that just joined us, we want to welcome you again. This is a conversation about All Good Just a Week Ago, that is sponsored by Barbara's Bookstore in Chicago. And they are an independent bookstore. And if you get your copy of All Good Just a Week Ago from their website and you use the code EVENT, you will get 10% off. If you already have the book, you got to get one you got to get one for your friend, so that you two can read together. So just wanted to let you all know that again, because we're so appreciative for Barbara's Bookstore. But to go back to that, having a book written by one person who's married, one who has yet to be married, we've been through this journey for a long time. A lot of people ask us how we met, and we met in college lost contact for 10 years. And then we were almost 10 years. And then, you know, we've been inseparable ever since, and very much together on this journey. And so it was just more inspiration for me. Niesha, you're able to see, like, in the beginning of the book, you know, a lot of her stories are like, oh, this could be the one. So in the beginning, she has a story that is called The Smooth Operator, which talks about Poppy Chulo cheating on her. And then at the end of the book, she has a story called The Wait, where she's dating this guy that everybody laughs. You guys are going to crack up at this if you haven't read it already. His name, since we don't use real names in the book, his name is Dr. Boo Boo Breath. Okay? We don't have to explain why that was his name. But that was the relationship that led her to saying, I am not going to carry on as business as usual. I'm not going to do the same thing. And her same thing that she was not going to do, she was going to wait until she got married to have sex again, like, to be real. And so to be able to share that story with our readers, and the thing about this book is we give commentary on the book, but we're not telling you how to do whatever you should be doing to get your mate. Like, we don't have any formulas. We are just sharing our stories and, you know, wanting you to do this journey alone. And so that's why we're so grateful. You're, I don't see you again. I don't know what's going on.
Oh no.
Okay, so
not robot again.
I don't know what happened to Niesha. We lost her. Can somebody let us know?
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here. Well, we're having a little commercial break right now. So listen, guys and gals, like I said, we're super excited for you all to be here with us tonight. You know, technical difficulties, they happen, but you know, the show is still must go on. So here we are. While my co-author and sister is waiting to log back on again, I just want to tell you all, you know, just again that, you know, Barbara's Bookstore is just a phenomenal bookstore that is located in Chicago. They have multiple locations where if you would decide to purchase a book tonight, you will receive 10% off with event as your code to receive that discount for this book. And listen, let me tell you something. This is like one of the best gifts that you can give anybody for Valentine's Day. You know, we put so much, you know, emphasis on like Valentine's Day gifts and like, what do you get a person? And, you know, maybe you like somebody right now, but you're really like, it's probably too soon to get them like a super sentimental gift, but you still want to give them like a small token to just like let them know like you're feeling them, or, you know, just to kind of see where it can go. This book is a good icebreaker to kind of help set the mood, you know, to see where you all can go with this. So this is just an idea. I am no matchmaker, but I'm just, you know, throwing out some little love gems that can get you, you know, a nice, you know, partner. The thing is, like, with love, you just never know how it will, you know, happen, you know, when will it take place or any of that. I met my husband on a dating app. And when I tell you that that was like the last place in the world that I thought that I would meet my forever bae, I mean, listen, I was on a bunch of them. I was like, you know, I was like on Bumble, you know, did I have a Tinder date before? Yes, I did go on a Tinder date. It went so crazy. Just a little, again, this is just a little transparent, you know, talk that we're having. The picture that I saw on the profile was like a really nice, you know, well-to-do gentleman. He like had on a suit, you know, he had like some athletic pictures thrown in there. Like it was like a nice array of pictures. And when I tell y'all, you know, we talked on the phone, you know, we was like, you know, we'll go meet at a nice little local bar in the neighborhood. And I was really like, okay, this sounds like, I mean, he had a nice conversation. I get down there and I see somebody that kind of looks similar to him as far as like, you know, like the eyes that I saw in the profile picture and everything. This person was like really, really obese. Oh, you're back. Oh, yeah.
I had to move.
Oh, listen, I was giving a whole commercial. I was telling them about Santa Claus when I went on a little and that's what the person looked like, you all. So I can't, you know, now that my sister's back, we can.
I had to move to another spot.
But it was a bad thing. He looked like Santa Claus. Like he looked totally opposite. He was like 200 extra pounds than what I saw on the profile picture. So I'm just like, folks are out here catfishing people. It ain't right. It ain't right. So, you know, there's my story. I got tons of them. Okay, hit it, E. We back. Okay, we back.
We're holding it down. So if that happens again, I moved to my desktop. It's not as lit, but it's okay. We can continue the conversation.
That's okay. We did a whole commercial. It's cool. It's
good. Right. Where were we?
So we were talking about the difference in, you know, me writing from a married woman's perspective and then your approach to writing from a single while waiting for your king perspective, you know. So yeah.
And then I think we're going into the kingdom relationships. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about that and what that is. So definitely want to share that because I think that's important. And so, you know, we felt like it was important to have some type of message in this book. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, everybody may not agree with this and we're not telling everybody, but we should, you know, put some type of message and bring it back full circle. And so we talk about kingdom relationships. And so you want to touch on that a little bit, Niesha? We kind of piggyback on kingdom that's in the book.
Sure. So the basis of the kingdom relationships is just ultimately you deciding like, hey, this is not working. What I've been doing is not working. So what can I do to really put myself in the best position to win? And when I say win, I mean where you're actually going to mate and be with someone who you are attracted to physically, because that is important. And we can get on that later, but physically you are attracted to this person. Emotionally, he or she is a sound individual. And what I mean by that is that, listen, if they have had some trauma in their lives prior to meeting you, they've been healed from that trauma. That's not anything that you have to worry about them coming into a new relationship with, you know, that will, you know, possibly impede on the thing that you are seeking to grow with this individual. So they're emotionally sound. Very much a caring person, you know, and just overall, they're going to make time for you, right? So they're going to be dating with intention as well. So in the kingdom relationships, this is really where you're saying to God, you're having a very bold proclamation to the Lord, like, listen, God, I'm going to give myself back to you to figure this all out, to really just match me up and hook me up with who you've created for me to be with in my truest form, right? So this is another thing too that me and Erika touch on in the book, is the importance of not dating representatives. And don't you be a representative either when you're dating. And by that, we mean whoever you are to your core, you need to be that person on your first date, and it needs to continue to matriculate through the duration of your relationship with this person, okay? I can say this all the time. Listen, it's best that you tell the person that you're on a date with on the first date what your intentions are, so that you're not wasting each other's time. But so often, because we're not really comfortable with, you know, being really honest and, you know, upfront on the first date, you know, it's like, oh, you don't want to scare this person away. But I mean, to be honest, if you can't tell this person how you really get down and who you really are, then you don't need to be with that person no way. Because I'm going to tell you, true indeed, 2 years later down the line, when the real you comes out, it's going to scare them. They're going to be like, who are you? I do not know who you are, because you never gave them a chance to meet that person. So just keep it real from the beginning. So that's what the kingdom relationship is really centered about. It's centered about honesty with yourself and God as to what it is that you feel that you really need to have in a relationship in order for it to work, and really just allowing him to manifest that for you on his terms. You really can't lose, to me, that way.
Yeah. And so we're so excited to just introduce that concept. And, it may not be for everybody, but if somebody can, heal from it or learn, that was something that we wanted to share. And so we break it down in the book that you can get from Barbara's bookstore for 10% off by using the code EVENTS. And so we definitely want you guys to, dive into that, enjoy the stories, laugh. And one thing that we're so grateful is yes, we do have the spiritual component, but we also realize, that we are human, and we learn. We have to learn, and part of that is learning from our own mistakes, and we just in our mishaps, and we just we don't want people to go through some of the things that we went through, or even the things that the people shared in their story. So there's so many crazy stories that we don't want you guys to experience. Are there any questions from the audience at all?
I don't see any right now.
We'll give you all a couple of minutes. And so it's at Barbara's bookstore shared. If you would like to ask a question, please use the ask a question button. So you all definitely, we want questions. We want to answer your questions, and we don't want to just talk to you all. So if you have a question, feel free to ask. Do not hesitate.
I have a question, Erika.
Hey, what's your question?
What ensemble are you wearing tonight? You look fabulous. Is that
No.
Okay. Listen, you looking good.
For some of our interviews, we don't have bottoms really, but I got my leather pants on. Because I said, if I was in Barbara's bookstore, we would have came there fly and ready.
Oh, listen, and so ready. And that's the thing too. I will say, as we await some questions from the audience, I will say that one of my most favorite parts of our events that we do for the press tour for the book is really allowing us the chance to get dressed up, because when do we get a chance to dress up anymore, people? This is nuts. But
I was going to ask you your ensemble. What's that? You got your necklace. What's this going on? Is this a blazer?
No, it's actually a little top. This is vintage J. Crew. This is part of this is actually a collection piece. This is circa 2005, I think, or 2006, somewhere along those lines. And I've just, I've always just I thought that this was just such a cool piece. It's like an Aztec type print, and it has a really good texture to it too.
It looks nice and comfy.
Because it's so cold here in New Jersey. I mean, I know that you're in sunny LA.
It's not really sunny.
What's the degrees? What's the temperature today?
Let me check. Right now it's 55 and cloudy, and tomorrow will be a high of 68. So that's kind of cold for LA.
That is cold for LA, but it's summertime for us on the East Coast. So we'll end the conversation on that right now. Okay. So yeah, I also really quickly, Erika, while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I just also wanted to say how it was really important for us when we were writing this book to not come across, and this is no shade to other dating books, no shade, but we didn't want to give off formulas, because we know that as humans, there's no perfect formula that is going to get us the perfection of a relationship. Because why? perfection doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's not even around.
I feel like if you're using formulas, it may not be as sincere. So you may be doing things that you would not do. And yes, we do encourage you to look at your dating patterns and change some of those habits. But what that formula looks like for you is going to be different from me. And so even in the book, you know, we talk about Sierra and Russell Wilson, because when Sierra got Russell, everybody said, ooh, what is that Sierra prayer? What did she pray? And so, you know, it's like, no, Sierra's prayer was for her and your prayer is for you. And so just identify those things that you want and know that you deserve them. If you're waiting to meet your person, start becoming that person that you are praying for, you know, and you'll start attracting those types of people.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's I think that's great that you touched on the Sierra prayer, because we all know that, like you said, when she got proposed to by Russell, I mean, the world kind of like stopped for a moment. They were like, wait, like she was just with Future. Like, how did this fire so quickly, you know? And, you know, obviously she's been very vocal about like what her journey looked like for her, as far as like the healing that took place, you know, kind of like her transformation. But like, even like with my own story, like I will never tell anybody like, oh, if you're not celibate, good luck on finding you a man, or, you know, like, no, because that's silly. And I really feel like it's not kind. It's not kind to project, you know, that your way of however you obtain your happiness has to be the end all be all way for somebody else, because that's not the case. That is just not realistic, you know? So one thing that I will say that I do enjoy so much about our book is that it's a very solid, real down to earth perspective on what dating looks like, you know, in 2020. You know, and beyond, you know, and it doesn't involve, you know, like putting anyone down or shaming anyone for anything that they've done on their journey, because that's what helps to get you to the finish line. You know, I mean, if everything went as we desire for it to be, life would be, I mean, it would be quite boring, you know, it would be, you know, quite a sleepy time event. So I love that, you know, you and I both, you know, and I will speak to this at your wedding reception. You know, there's been some seasonings that has been, you know, sprinkled on this journey to really make it a flavorful situation where we're not like full of regret. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're, you know, I'm almost 40 in a few months. It's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, I regret this, that. Like, I don't have a ton of regret, you know, because I've been able to make peace with, you know, the things that I've done on my journey to get to where I'm at right now that didn't really like resonate with who I feel me to be on the overall. But you just make mistakes along the way, you know. And I think that we touch on the fact that it's okay that you have these moments of, you know, a little bit more color than others, you know. It doesn't mean that you're doomed because you had a slip up or something, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, your story is still being written and it's going to be a great story. You know what I'm saying? So we just want to encourage our readers to know that, you know, you are talking to two ladies who have really, we have lived. We have lived.
Living, since we don't have any questions coming in, this is the first time I'm sharing this, even with Niesha. Okay, it's new. So I feel, so our book is all about keeping your head in the dating game. Oh, Niesha said there's questions, but I don't see the questions. Oh, now I see the questions. We had to click on the questions.
Oh,
okay. Okay, so the first one, never mind. I don't have to share this yet.
Well, you first to get off.
Yeah. Would you tell us a little about your writing process? And so we talked about that, a little bit of the creation of writing the book. But we both, I think we have like both similar and different writing styles and process. And so for this is not my only book. So when I write, it's so weird that part of that process starts with me just writing down. I'm not sure what part of the process you'd really like to know about, Laura, but it starts with just writing down and then just putting, everything on the computer, on the laptop. But for this book, the process was we had to reach out to people for their stories in addition to putting our stories together. And we had to either edit or translate those stories. And so there were people who, they did not write their story in time, the time that we needed. And so they just told their story, and we, in a voice memo, and we translated that story, and then we put that into book form.
Which took a lot of love. It took a lot of love. That took a lot of love. And I will also say, Laura, that that was a challenge for me. That was a part of the writing process that I struggle with personally, because, Erika, she's like an author extraordinaire. This is my first book. So, I was really kind of like leaning on her, like, oh my gosh, like, this is like so much. It's like, it was overwhelming at times, but we really did push through, and we really, I'm so thankful to God that I had her to kind of lean on throughout that process, because she's a seasoned author. And for me as a newbie, I was just like, girl, like, just show me how to get to the finish line. So, so that she covered all of the bases on that for sure. Let's see, who's our next question? Oh, Gloria. Okay. You're doing both. Well, thank you, Gloria. We're trying, Queen. We are trying. So where do you look for men in a pandemic? All right now, Gloria. So I'm gonna let Erika take this one, because I'm clearly not on the market. But
yes, that's a really good question. And so the beginning of the pandemic, I won't say in the beginning, I actually was liking somebody who was not my person. I call him a counterfeit. And so the pandemic has caused me to just take a break and really focus on me and, what I feel like I need to work on before going back into relationships. So there are just some things like, just anxiety, like I would have anxiety relationship, or when it came to relationships, and certain things that I wanted to work on before putting myself back in the dating game. And so part of what I want to share today is like, I'm ready to get back in the dating game. Like, I feel like I'm ready. I feel like my person is near, and I want to enjoy that journey. I want to go on some dates. And so I signed up for Facebook dating because they just sent me something. And so I've been matching. So part of that, you can do online dating, and you can really enjoy that. I think part of that, like, we believe like what's for you is for you. So you don't necessarily have to go out and look for it. Just get in position and get ready, and you will attract that person. You don't have to go out and try to look, because that person will come find you when it's time. You all will know. And so in the meantime, just get ready. Even join some dating apps, but do it just, for fun, to put yourself out there. But there's still people everywhere. I was at the gas station a few weeks ago with my mask on, and this guy's like, you look familiar, like he was trying to flirt. And I'm like, you can't even see my face, okay? So people will flirt, and there's people out there. And so, just get ready, Gloria. I can't wait to hear your dating story.
I know, that's right, Gloria. We're gonna have to.
FYI, I'm married almost 30 years now, looking for guys, just interested in what you do. Okay, Gloria.
Okay.
Congratulations, 30 years of marriage.
Yeah,
years. That, you are not in this dating game, okay? And so Niesha asked, what do you do as friends versus boyfriend and girlfriend? You want to take that?
Let's see. Well, I guess it's just really, I mean, as friends, you do friend, I don't know, because, honestly, your person should be your friend first, right?
Mm-hmm.
You all should have the foundation of being friends first, So, I mean, that can look any kind of ways. I mean, I know, like I love to have a good meal. Like I'm really about my food intake. So, like for me, going out on dinner dates, that was like something that was really, it was a good time for me and Brian, because we were able to fellowship not just over the food experience, but we were able to like get into more details about like our lives as far as like how we were going to maybe eventually cohabitate with one another, and like if our goals were similar, or how would they differ. Like it was just like a time for us to just like basically have like these really good powwows with the company of a good meal. So I guess it could just vary. It's like whatever you really enjoy doing, like, so that's just like one of the things that I really enjoy doing. I love to eat food. So,
yeah.
I feel like you can go either way. You can do that with a friend or a boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah. And yeah, some of those activities, I agree, can definitely be the same. I think that if it's your boyfriend or girlfriend versus your friend, some of those boundaries may be different. So even if it's a friend that you're interested in, there still may be certain boundaries that you have with that person until you know which direction it's going. But you should be able to be very natural as a friend. Friends, make the best lovers, I hear. So
listen, no lies there.
And so it says, may I ask him what favorite authors are? That's a good question.
Do you want to go first?
But one of them. Sure. My favorite, I have a few favorite authors, and it's been a while since I've been able to really dive into some books. But there are two people that I guess, that stand out when I was really an avid reader of fiction. And that's one thing I want to get back to, is reading some fiction, not just nonfiction. But I was a huge fan of Elin Harris, who passed away. And so I was a huge fan of his books. And then I was a huge fan of Sister Soldier, Coldest Winter Ever. Like that was one of my favorite books. She has another book coming out. And so those are two of my favorite authors as far as fiction.
For me, as far as fiction, I'm going to kind of go left with my favorite author, because he's actually a children's book author. Shiel Silverstein. He wrote this book called A Light in the Attic. It is by far one of my favorite books, that even as an adult, I still love to read his books, because they are so, they just make you feel great. Like he's talking about like, the craziest of scenarios, like, having dinner on a cloud, like you're sitting on a cloud and you're having dinner. Like who thinks of things like this? But just how lighthearted his writings are, it's just always like a feel good experience with when I read his books. So definitely him. And then another one of my favorite authors is Anne Frank. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but I love Anne Frank. Like I love her so much that for my birthday, my husband whisked me off to Amsterdam to go to her house. I actually was able to look at Kitty, which was her diary that she wrote, her book that we now have, her diary. And it was just like one of the most, it was the experience itself. I can't even express it in words, but it was just like one of those like, oh my gosh, I am going up the stairs that Anne Frank traveled with her family, that she was in hiding for months and months and months. Yeah. So those are my two favorites that I just think of like right now off the top of my head. Thanks, Georgia. That was a great question.
It's funny you mentioned the first book because I have The Giving Tree. Have you read that?
This is why you're my sister. This is why you're my sister. For these reasons. Now, I didn't even know she was at The Giving Tree.
Yes. And so I need to get the other one because I haven't read that one in years.
Yes.
Well, this has been fun. I think we have one more question.
Oh, we do?
And we're about to wrap up. Oh, Gloria said, I went to Ann's house last year. My dad is a Holocaust survivor. Wow.
Bless you and bless your family. Listen, that experience was like, you know, and it was like when we had to read it, we had to read Anne Frank's diary when I was in 4th grade for social studies. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thick little book. Like, I'm not really going to want to read this. I mean, read that book so fast and it just stuck with me, you know, just to know everything that her family went through to even endure all of that madness. Listen, so God bless you. Thank you so much, Gloria, for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing. And thank you all so much for joining us. This has been truly amazing, truly a great time. Thank you so much to Barbara's Bookstore.
Barbara's Bookstore, yes. You have such a place in our heart. We are so thankful for you all even giving us this outlet and this opportunity.
Yeah. And when, you know, when the world opens up, whenever that is, we would love to come to the bookstore and anything you all need because we really appreciate it. And thank you, Louisa. I hope I pronounced your name right. She said, thank you to me.
Oh, bless you, Louisa. I'm sending you some hugs. Bless
you. Can also follow us on Instagram.
Thank you.
You can follow us. Our book is All Good _ just a week ago. And you can visit our site at allgoodjustaweekago.com for information or any interviews that we do coming up or any that we've had.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. You all have a beautiful evening. We want to let you know, we want to have you stay safe and be encouraged and, you know, really just take it one day at a time. Don't stress yourselves out, okay? Like, we are going to persevere through all of this. I can assure you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.